most of those things came from my dad, who I lost a couple years ago. And so there's a lesson in listening to your parents now, their wisdom now, while you still can. Some of this stuff comes from pastors. I probably stole a few things from Max Lucado on Saturday. And there might even be a TikTok reference because Owen inspired me. And so if you need a plan on how to manage your life and how to manage yourself, on how to manage your stress, what to do when you're afraid, what to do when you're lonely or in the unknown, I would encourage you to look at Philippians 4. It says in part, rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near to you. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you've learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. See, the anxiety that some of you are feeling right now about leaving home can either cause you to pray or it can cause you to have fear. And you have to decide for yourself which one of those things that you're going to choose, and you need to choose wisely. The Lord knows everything that you will face in your life, and I can assure you that He is up for the task of it. And hear me on this, because I promise it's true. When gratitude enters, anxiety exits every single time. Anxiety refuses to share the heart with gratitude. That's the one I stole from Mr. Lucado. And I know it's super cliche, but try me if you don't believe me. If you have anxiety, make a list of the things that you are thankful for and watch what happens. So maybe you're thinking this is supposed to be a positive, send you out into the world type of blessing. And that's great. But honestly, it's easy to be happy and excited and talk about those good things. But what about when you're afraid? What about when you're lonely? What about when you have anxiety and when you don't know which way to turn? Because I can promise you this, those things are coming at you too. In John 16:33, Jesus says that in this world you will have troubles, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So there's a lot of bad theology, I think, that comes up when we face suffering. And I don't doubt that this is a factor when there are certain Christian school kids that reject or walk away from their faith. But I want you to hear me when I say having a personal belief that God should always make your path smooth sets you up to resent God and even walk away from your faith when our lives don't go the way that we want them to go. I'm going to talk about that with your parents too. God's will doesn't have to feel good to you in order to be good for you. So how do you rejoice in the storms that you're going to have in life? I honestly don't know. And quite honestly, it frustrates me when some super Christian says something stupid like you should be thankful for the storm. I don't think that you should. It's broken, it's hard, it's not fun. But I do believe that you can find joy in those storms. What you should be rejoicing in during the storms of life is the constant, unchanging love that's ever present from God, and that will never leave you. Rejoice in that. After the storm is over, you can look back and be grateful for the lessons that it taught you. Be gentle and forgive. If you want a simple definition of forgiveness, think of it as a promise to yourself to never take revenge. It's a threefold perspective on your part. You say, I won't ever bring it up to you. I won't ever bring it up to anyone else. And most importantly, I will never bring it up to myself again. That's what forgiveness is. And if you find yourself on the side of needing forgiveness, changed behavior is the only real apology. So who you are as a person is more important than what you do for a career in your life. Why you do something, what your motives are more important than what you are actually doing. And so this is what I want you to remember from me. Darkness will come, and in the middle of it, the future will look bleak. The temptation for you to quit will be huge. Don't quit. You'll argue with yourself that there's no way forward, but with God, nothing is impossible. He has more ropes and ladders and tunnels out of the pits that you have created than you can ever imagine. Just wait on him, pray through Philippians 4, and get back up again and fight. So to me, you're not students anymore, you're adults, and we are all so proud of you. And it's a privilege for these staff to get to write blessings over you. And if you ever need anything from any of us, we are here for you always. And we're so proud of you. Parents, 93% of the time that you will spend with your kids has already taken place. Wow, that's hard to think about, isn't it? I commend you for putting God first in their raising by choosing Christian education. Psalm 127, 3-5 says, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be defeated." And so, many of us have heard this set of verses when there's chaos going on in our home and the kids are little and they're running around, and we say, "Blessed is the man whose quiver is full." And then we're told this when our kids have done something wrong, and we're just trying to remember that they actually are a blessing, right? But think about this set of verses right now when they're about to leave. Your home is the quiver, and they are the arrows, right? And what's the purpose of this arrow? What's the purpose? To fly. That's true. That's true. I don't feel the need to shoot any of you with these anymore. The purpose of this arrow is to fly. It's not to be in the quiver. It's not to be in your home. And so we have to let our kids do what they're made to do. Now, if I shoot this arrow, will I hit the target every single time? Not even close. And neither will they. But you let them shoot, and you let them fly, and you let them try, and you do it again and again and again and again. Okay, you have to encourage your kids to take risks, because they now have to go take their place in the world. You can't protect them. And if you try to do it too much, ultimately you destroy them. These kids do not want their parents to do everything for them, regardless of what they tell you or what you think they might or might not be capable of. Here's a rule for parents with adult children. Don't do anything for your kids that they can't do for themselves, because you will undermine their autonomy. I know there's a certain amount of harshness that goes along with that, because you have to begin to separate yourself from your child and allow them to make hurtful mistakes. This is unbelievably difficult if you're a compassionate person, which I am not. But you have to stand back far enough to let your children take necessary risks. To let the arrow fly, you can't guide it to the target. You can't guide it to where it's going. They have to do it on their own, and you have to let them. So mom and dad, the single best advice that I ever received when my kids were preparing to go to college was to sit down with your student, with your child, and ask them this question. What does it look like for me to be a good college parent to you? And listen to what your kids say to you, what they need from you and what they don't need from you. And don't just say money. And then after you've done that, let them ask you a similar question. Mom and Dad, what does it look like for me to be a good college student to you? Students, listen to your parents' wisdom because they've been there and they know. And hear me on this, as hard as it may be, go as long as you can that first time before you go visit them in college or before you let them come home. Some colleges now don't even have that first long Labor Day weekend just to keep students on campus. Try waiting until Thanksgiving. I know that might sound crazy, but it does wonders for your child. Because what happens is you miss them because your house is lonely, but they're doing something new and exciting and they're having fun. And then you kind of get used to them not being there and they get homesick. And so what I would just say again is just wait and remember that we are raising our children to leave. So finally, parents, pray honest prayers for your adult children and do not stop. And we're going to do that in just a moment. But with graduation coming up, Dr. Beeson gets the honor of shaking your hand as you guys walk across the stage, and I get the honor of reading your names. And I sure wish we wouldn't have included all your middle names. But I have a gift for you, and I would like to get to shake your hand before we go on. And so in those set of scriptures, blessed is the man whose quiver is full. You're the arrows. It is now time for you to leave the comfort of your home and go out and make your place in the world. And so I actually